The Accidental Entrepreneur is brought to you with the help of our sponsor, AWeber, the world's leading small business email marketing automation service provider. Since 1998, AWeber has helped more than 1 million small businesses and entrepreneurs through its suite of web-based email marketing, automation tools, and education. AWeber, the best option when it comes to marketing your business. The podcast is also brought to you by the Alternative Board. Since 1989, the Alternative Board, or TAB, has been one of the leading peer advisory and business coaching organizations for independent business owners and CEOs across the world. By facilitating peer advisory boards, private one-on-one coaching, and strategic planning services, TAB helps business owners improve their businesses in ways that change their lives. And be sure to connect with our affiliate sponsor, GSM Growth Agency. They're boosting e-commerce businesses to 6 and 7 figures in revenue and cover everything from ads and social media influencers to making your website better. GSM Growth Agency focuses on taking businesses from startup success to bigger success, going above and beyond to make sure growth sticks around. They're all about cool ideas, lasting partnerships, and making your mark in the e-commerce world. And be sure to support the podcast by ordering some logo merchandise from our online store. Listen to all of our sponsors' commercials later in this episode and follow their links in the show notes to learn more about their products and services. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I'm Mitch Beinhacker, your host of the Accidental Entrepreneur, and thanks for listening and tuning in. I've been getting a lot of good feedback from people, bringing great guests on. We're going to talk to Dave in a minute. Today, we're going to be talking about personal branding, which is definitely a pet peeve of mine. I think that a lot of business owners overlook it, and we've had some guests on before. So we'll have another great conversation about it. If you are listening on your favorite podcast directory, you can leave us a review. Please leave us a 5-star review. If you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like us, and keep us connecting with guys like Dave. So let's get on with today's show.
The information provided in these episodes is for entertainment purposes only. It is not a guarantee of success or to be construed as advice of any kind. You should always seek advice from local licensed professionals before making any decisions.
The dictionary defines an entrepreneur as a person who organizes and manages any enterprise, especially a business, usually with considerable initiative and risk. People often start a business without much choice, perhaps due to a job loss or just being dissatisfied at work, and they come up with an idea they just know can be successful. They become entrepreneurs by accident. That is to say, their success or failure happens by accident, not with intention. My name is Mitch Beinhacker. I'm a corporate attorney and a business advisor. You're listening to The Accidental Entrepreneur, my podcast about how to achieve success on purpose, not by accident. Join me along with our monthly guests, where we share our knowledge and help you get a hold of your business. And now on to today's episode. All right, Dave, you can hear me good?
Yeah, we're all set.
Okay. So I apologize if we hear some beeping in the background. They decided today was a good day to do maintenance on the building. So I think they get some beeping stuff. And I know we had some connectivity problems, so I got no background today. So we're all live radio, basically.
Yeah.
All kinds of fun stuff. We're not live streaming. So, all right. So why don't we do that? Why don't we go back, like we said off the mic, and talk about, your background in business, companies you've started, the things you've done. And then in the second half, we can get into personal branding and, why it's important and what you're doing and all that kind of stuff. Does that make sense? Like a little
Let's do it.
Tractor run? Okay. Sounds good.
For sure.
So start. It's your story. Let's go.
Sure. Yeah. So quite an interesting one. There's kind of a through line through everything, which will make sense, I guess, in the end. But
okay.
My journey starts back in, I'm going to be dating myself here, but in college, my junior summer year, which was 2011, maybe.
Okay.
And we needed an internship I was majoring in marketing and business and such. And so we needed an internship that associated with that. So I got this internship that was an advertising internship, but it wasn't paid. So it's like, let me get this. I need some beer money. So let me get, a separate gig here. So I got something in Westchester, Pennsylvania. It was a very small boutique online reputation management agency, and they needed an intern. So I was employee number 3 at this place. I come in and I'm learning everything about, online reputation management, which basically is when you Google yourself, what are the
Right.
search results that show
Yeah,
up, and how
people
do we?
post bad shit about you, and you're going to help them
Yeah,
get rid of it.
yeah. You
Yeah.
know, hopefully that's not the reason why
Right.
you need to manage
Exactly.
your online reputation, but
Right.
we did see a lot of that.
Yeah.
So, and I was also helping this guy with a lot of online advertising, and so I like to say that I went to college and majored in marketing and advertising, and I spent 4 years there. But over the summer of my junior year, I learned way more in
Yeah.
marketing and
You
advertising than I
always
did.
do. College, I
Yeah.
think, is like it's like an exercise in learning how to think. It doesn't really like prepare you to work. You
Or
learn
like
that on the
start to,
job.
it's like that,
Right.
you know, that stepping stone into being an adult living on your own. Like you're
Right.
kind of living an
Yeah.
adult life, but you
Adulting.
know, yeah, yeah. You have to deal with rent and such.
Right. Yeah.
But in any case, yeah, I got my master's degree that summer essentially.
Okay.
And so with that, this was a company called brand.com.
Right.
And I went back to college, got my degree that year,
Now,
graduated
Dave,
on a
let me interrupt you for a second. So you said there were only 3 people in the company, right? So did they say, Dave, here, you figure this out? I mean, you're in college, right? So you figure out, do some searches, see what this guy, what's up about. Or did they train you how to do this?
my training was figure it out,
Yeah,
essentially.
that's why I'm asking the
Right.
question.
I mean,
So
a lot. I mean, this is like
you're a young guy.
the
It's
founder. The
yeah.
founder is like one of those typical like throw you in the deep end, and if you can swim, you can stay kind of guys,
If you
right?
drown, you're
So
out of the pool, right?
yeah, you prove
Right.
yourself by not asking questions and just getting it done, type of thing. So that was also kind of like a quick boot camp for entrepreneurship, where it's
Right.
like you can't raise your hand every 5 seconds. And I actually remember a time where he gave me a task, and it was like something with advertising. I've never run an advertising campaign before in my life. He's trying to run like a $10,000-$20,000 ad campaign, and I'm trying to set up the ad campaign, and it's asking me all these questions about how I want to do it, and I've never
Right.
done it before.
And
So
you
I
don't
keep
want to go back and ask them, right?
I learned the hard way.
Right.
I kept being like, hey, like, what do I do here? How do I do this? And after a while, he was just like, you know what? Google it, figure it out.
Right.
And
Stop
I was like,
asking me.
from
Right.
that point on, I was like, all right, like I
Yeah.
get it. You know,
Yeah. Right.
we're a small team. I can't be bugging the boss every 5 seconds.
Right.
You know, for better or worse, I don't know how that ad campaign came out, but
Right.
I learned something that day.
Yeah, sure.
So that was, it was definitely trial by fire there. I go get my degree. I come back and start working for the company again full time. I was working kind of part time during my senior year, but during that time, I was employee number 3. We went to like maybe 20 employees. Like the company was really starting to take off.
Okay.
We moved into a bigger office building. So we were starting to get 40, 50, 60 employees. Meanwhile, I was employee number 3. So I'm like growing with the company. I'm starting to be in board meetings and starting to get positions in the company that I never thought I would ever, get in my life, being like head of marketing or something, right? For this company.
You've graduated at this point, right?
Yeah. So I got the degree,
right,
for whatever that's worth. My mom is proud or something,
completed the process. You didn't leave that.
Yeah, check that off. I checked
open,
that
right?
off.
Exactly.
And the funny thing is, like, they say get the degree because it's important for when you go and get your, W-2 job. But I've never had, as we'll see here, I've never gone and got a like legitimate W-2
corporate
job somewhere.
Right,
I've never like had an interview.
Degree, right? Yeah, no.
I think the last interview I had was my junior year summer, so I never really needed that degree.
Funny.
But but in any case, yeah. So we were just exploding. We were working with celebrities, business professionals who were worried about their online reputation. In that process, I was leading the marketing, and with that, I was leading the website, and with that, I then was dealing with a lot with our development team, who was based in India at the time, and so a lot of WordPress and all those types of companies weren't a big thing at that time. We were doing a lot of custom code stuff. So
sure.
I was dealing a lot with marketing, development, product development. I was in meetings with us discussing like product services and things. And I'm like 21, 22.
Right.
And so that company went from 3 employees to 103 employees
Oh, grew, yeah.
pretty quickly. We moved
Yeah.
into Philadelphia. We were one of the fastest growing companies in Philadelphia at the time. And, this is, again, I'm learning everything on the fly here because this is my first time in a business at all. And then the business owner was one that was kind of a little bit like ready, shoot, aim. So there was a lot of learning that was happening across the entire company at the time. And with that, we wanted to professionalize the business. Like, as you mentioned, a lot of the types of clients we would be working with are people that had bad things
Right.
online that they
Yeah.
wanted suppressed. Right. So when we wanted to grow the business, when we wanted to get funding, people were looking at, okay, who's your clientele?
Right.
And it would be people that weren't so great, weren't so reputable.
Right.
And we were like, I don't know if we want to put money into a business like that. So we try to pivot.
So it's like
And
managing
pretty
the
quickly.
reputation of like R. Kelly. It's going to be a little difficult, right? It's going to be really bad things about them, which may be
Yeah.
true, but they're trying.
And that's the thing. It's like, to play both sides, you can have a very disgruntled employee that whatever the story is doesn't maybe have validity to their claim, but they can
Sure.
go onto whatever said
Yeah,
this.
Glassdoor or whatever, right?
Yeah, right. And just completely ruin your
That's one of
reputation.
the
It has no
problems, yeah.
validity to it.
Right. Yeah.
So a lot of times there is that too. We're just trying to clean up some things that
Right.
were false claims.
No, as a law
Yeah.
firm, when I had more partners and I had a collections partner, we used to do collections like for clients, and the people that we were collecting against would like put things online and say, these guys steal your money and whatever. This is a guy we have a judgment against. We're suing because he owes our client $50,000, $100,000, and he's putting bad things about us
Right.
online, and it was totally not legitimate, and there wasn't a lot you could do about it.
Yeah, there's websites, I won't name them, but there are websites out there where you can just create a free account, go on there, write the person's name, information of it could be a fake story,
Right.
but that post is the way that they set up that website is very SEO friendly. So that post is going to rank on the first page of Google when you Google your name. And there's really nothing you can do about it. There's like
Right.
ways you can contact them and try to whatever,
Right.
but not a lot of people know the process. And so
Right.
it's a lot of what we were doing is like taking down these like false claims.
Yeah, right. And that's the legitimate
yeah.
side of the business, like managing,
Right.
Reputation stuff that's online. It's not true. If it's true, then you're really just trying to suppress the true part to a false narrative, and that's probably not like what you really wanted to do, right? You didn't.
Right. Yeah. There's times where there were DUIs, where there were inappropriate situations or something.
Right.
I didn't really deal with the clients too much. I was more on the marketing and like software development side of things, like how to make all the systems work together so that we can manage the clients.
Right.
I didn't hear too much about it, but
Because you didn't
yeah.
just do reputation management. You were doing all kinds of digital work for people, digital marketing and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, we would build websites for them. So a lot back in the
Right.
day, one of the best ways to rank for someone's personal name is to buy their personal name, domain name, plus, reviews or,
Right.
whatever, right? These extensions to your name.
So like
And-
MitchFeinhackerReviews.com.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Bestlawyer.whatever.com.
Right.
And that was, that's ways that these websites would rank for your name and we would suppress other things. So it was a lot of like, how do we build these websites to be SEO friendly? How do we build them quickly? But also the process of just scaling a business, right? Because we went from 3 to 103
Yeah.
in like 2 years.
Yeah.
And so the task management, the workflows, the communication between teams
Yeah.
was also really important because
Very
that was
important.
something no one within the business. We hired in a COO from like Microsoft to help make a legitimate business and put those pieces together. But a large part of what I was doing was building out content software that helped scale and organize and put a kind of
Manage the business.
an editorial process
Yeah.
to our business because we were very editorial driven, being that we're creating content, publishing content
Of
so that we can
course.
suppress
And
content.
you're running 100 miles an hour and it gets away from you. I just had a guy on last week who's an ops guy, and I've had people on about scaling. And, people think like scaling is something like, oh, well, I would like that problem and we can just have tons of business. We'll figure it out. If you're not ready to scale and you don't have the operational systems in place, both people wise and systems wise, you're going to fall flat on your face, and customers are going to get bad customer service and they're going to leave. And your business would have been better off keeping 20 employees and having a good, solid, group of clients and not be able to manage 100. You just can't do that.
Yeah, things fall through the cracks very easily.
It doesn't do it,
Yeah. We saw that the growing pains were definitely there. It was a matter of, our sales guys we were a very sales driven organization. That's how we were growing so fast.
Right.
So it was a lot of sell,
bringing in customers and bringing in customers and bringing in customers.
And then throw it over the fence.
And that's
account
great,
management.
Yeah.
And then
Look, it's really good. You said we were pretty young at this point. That's a really good skill to learn really early on, because if you know how to do operations and you can scale businesses and you can do multiple businesses, if you know how to position them, if not, you're just figuring it out like your hair's on fire,
Right.
And
it was definitely, again, this was like another master's degree in those 2 years of like, okay, I learned like the ground level stuff, but this is like, how do I grow a business? What are the growing pains I should be looking out for? What are the puzzle pieces I need within a business in order for it to go to the next level?
Big time.
Bringing in the right people that with the right experience to professionalize things. When is the CEO? When should they take a back seat? And when should they?
When should Steve Jobs step down from the company?
Right.
Because it's not his skill set, right? It's a different skill set when you have 100 employees versus when you have 3.
Yeah. And so, I learned quickly, like, having smarter people in the room that are hyper focused on one specific thing is better than you trying to learn that thing,
right?
And then lead everyone.
Right? There's no question about it.
So we were growing fast. My focus was partly marketing, but it grew more into like product development, where I was building the systems behind the machine that helped everything work together. In fact, I even our development team was still in India. I flew to India for 3 months to help build out this content product, which was a seamless like task management system, content management system. It just organized like, invoicing, all that kind of stuff.
But it wasn't a product that you were selling to your customers. It was a product you were using to service the accounts.
Yeah, it was like a software enabled,
all that type of stuff. Got it.
So, but there was a client facing
portal or something
product to it. So like a client could log in, review the content we provide them, add annotations, stuff like that.
Right.
But mostly it was like behind the scenes when a new account came through, add all the line items that are in that SOW, and then click start, and then it would have a task workflow. So editorial would get involved and all that kind of stuff. So I was building all that out. These days, there's like stuff you can just buy off the shelf here.
Somebody, company said, "Oh, well, we can make this for other people," and then DIYs. But in those days, you had to build it yourself. Sure,
right, which was fun. Again, I love that stuff. Like having a vision in my head and then translating it into a document that I then communicate to a development team, and then the next day you see it live and you can interact with it. It's just like mind blowing for me. So cool. I love it.
It is
the creative kid in me like really loves it.
Yeah.
So we went to 103 employees, but then again we wanted to grow more, and we couldn't with the clientele we had. So there was a decision made to kind of cut that style of business and start this completely new, more legitimate style of business that was in the same vein. We were getting people published on credible websites. The problem was we cut off the cash cow side of our business.
Yeah.
And that was what was paying everyone.
Revenue has a lot to do with business, doesn't it?
It's the oxygen, right? So we were running out of oxygen and trying to get, a new line of oxygen that we never really found product market fit. And so it was this balancing act of, we still need cash to support the business, but we were trying to create this like separate adjacent business at the same time. And that balancing act did not work out very well. We started to have to like fire mass layoffs. I saw the business go from 103 back down to 3 in the next year. Like they were selling furniture to,
oh my God,
make payroll and all that kind of stuff. I was literally there like the last day, just kind of.
Were you an equity owner at any point?
I won't get into like
Not that you're going to make
no.
anything at this point. It's not going to
Yeah,
matter.
I
I'm just
won't. I
curious.
won't say like
became a
the
partner.
dealings of all that stuff. There was like types of equity distributed throughout the
Incentives,
business.
right? Yeah.
Yeah,
It
all
didn't
that kind of
matter in
stuff.
the end of the day, right? It wasn't worth
Right.
it.
But that again, it was like any startup where they give the story of at Microsoft, the janitor got 100 shares. The first year of Microsoft, and now he's driving around his Ferrari, kind of thing.
Yeah, right. So
And so that makes
people
everyone go,
won
"Oh
the
wow!"
lottery too, but not many.
Yeah, right,
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
So that's a thing. If everyone ever be very weary of early sweat equity.
Yeah.
It's something unless you really
Right.
believe in it.
Don't work for free.
So yeah, then so that was a lesson learned in seeing how to build a business to 103 employees, but then how to not what not to do
Right.
when otherwise it's going to go right back down to 3. That from there, that business owner spun off. He took the core idea of what we were trying to build adjacent to the service at brand.com, and he spun it off and was like, let's just try that in a separate business. So I followed him with that, and that was more focused on sponsored content. So this was the days where publishers are going out of business. They need to monetize, they need to pay their authors. And so the idea of like a brand paying a publisher to have a piece of content published onto their website was starting to become a little bit sexier for publishers who otherwise would be like, no, we have editorial, morals. We would never accept payment to publish something on our website. Everything is just organic. But when their payrolls weren't being met, they were like, they're like, let's revisit that sponsored content thing you were talking about.
Of course.
So basically we were creating a marketplace for that where publishers could list sponsored content options, inventory on our marketplace, and then you could pitch and opt into getting one published. And so that was another lesson learned, because we were trailblazing an industry that really wasn't there at the time. There was really no such thing as, if that was being done, it was handshake deals under the table, one-offs every so often. But now publishers are like, how do we scale this? How do you give us like 100 of these per month? Also too, there was a bunch of like legal things where if you're going to pay a website to have something published, it needs to be marked as sponsored, that there was exchange of money. And there was, Congress or whatever was still figuring out what the legality of all this stuff was and how it needed to be marked.
Right.
And we were trying to like advise the publishers, here's what you should do. So we were trying to, again, kind of trailblaze this industry.
And that's real sponsored content. It's really like a form of putting an ad in the paper. You're just making an article, right?
Yeah. So it's a little bit of both, where like the brand is pitching a concept to the publisher. The publisher is still writing the piece, but it's slightly an advertorial, but sometimes they still want to lean so back towards just strictly editorial, and it be more of like, 10 ways to improve your backyard this summer, sponsored by Home Depot.
Right.
And then they would incorporate concepts from Home Depot where you can like, hey, you could upgrade your garden. Oh, by the way, Home Depot has gardening tools and flowers and such.
Right. Links back.
So they always wanted to really lean on the editorial side of things. So it was a kind of a back and forth and a push and a pull of like, Home Depot basically wanted the writer to go, say Home Depot is the greatest company in the world and that you should go shop there this weekend and yada, yada, yada. And the publisher is saying, well, no, we need to give like fair and, editorial thought towards everything we do and all that kind of stuff. So it was a push and pull. And ultimately that took a while to find product market fit. That was another software product.
Got it.
And eventually I was just like, you know what? I think I've kind of figured out this business thing. I was probably back in 2016.
Okay.
So I had about 6 years under my belt, and I was like, I'm just gonna start my own thing. And at that point, that's when I started to lean into content creation myself, get a team together. And then that's when I started my first business, which was Presto Media. So that was like the kind of lead up to me actually getting into entrepreneurship, standalone entrepreneurship, and owning my own thing.
Right. Now, have your companies mostly been virtual? I mean, you didn't, because in your business, a lot of these companies don't need to have brick and mortar because they're all on their computers anyway.
Yeah.
So, right.
Yeah. Yeah. So
that was before Teams and Zoom and all that stuff anyway, right?
Yeah. And Slack and all that.
Slack, right.
Brand.com was in office. I think that was the last time I ever like went into an office was like 2014 maybe.
Really? Far back.
The spinoff was we actually went to New York, and I kind of lived in Airbnbs around New York for a year because that's where all the publishers were. We had deals with the Associated Press and such, and their headquarters were there. So I was kind of like living out of an Airbnb and like WeWorks and stuff. But then after that, once I did my own thing, I was like, all right, strictly virtual, you know.
Yeah. It's not, and so then before then the pandemic hit, nobody expects you to be.
Well, I was saying, I was doing the work from home thing before it became cool. So
yeah, exactly. Now people didn't even know about those tools then.
Yeah.
I never heard of Zoom until I had a colleague of mine who was using it for training and things like that. And I was like, well, you got to use Zoom. I'm like, what is that? And then the pandemic hit and boom. And then you had all these studios and, you know, stuff like that. You know, it changed my podcast. I used to have people sit like down at the end of the desk here with another boom mic and we would record the content, or I would have like things like here, if you can see, there's like a mixing board there. So I would take that in like some wheelie bags and all the cables and everything. We'd go on location and do it at a person's business, but we weren't capturing video. I didn't have a crew with me. I didn't have any money. So then when I started doing this, I'm like, oh, I can capture this video. And we set up a YouTube channel. And, you know, I was like, you know, I'd send out emails to all of my former guests. Hey, do you mind if we use the content? Because I wasn't making a YouTube channel, just capturing the video on Zoom. And then I would get emails back. Oh, yeah, you can use that content. I'm like, when do you think we filmed video? You were sitting in my office. There's no cameras in there. They're like, oh, yeah, okay. I thought they were hidden. No, you know.
That's funny. Yeah. Do you miss it? Because I like, you know, I have a podcast myself. It's all virtual, but like I would love to have that like in person.
Yeah, I've always had the itch to go on the road. If I had like a real sponsorship and I had some money to do it, you know, to do that. I have some guys who do some podcasts of friends that do some things that go to like there's one called the Fermented Adventure, and he goes to, you know, meaderies and distilleries and breweries and stuff like that. But, you know, but also I can connect with, I didn't even ask you where you're located, but I connect with people all over the place now, you know, we're all around the country, all around the world. Had people in from Europe and Australia and Singapore and, you know, Ukraine, all kinds of crazy locations that I could never connect with if I just did it, you know, locally. So it definitely opened up the world of being able to connect and learn from people, you know, just because, you know, you lived in Portugal doesn't mean, so when you speak English doesn't mean that you can't share what you've learned in your experiences. And they're global, you know, like you mentioned, all the things you learn about business and operations and how to scale a business. And, you know, and your business didn't fail. The business you were involved with didn't fail because of scaling. It failed because of its inability to, you know, to make that transition to the client base. It didn't recognize what was really funding this business and that the other thing wasn't going to work, you know? So why don't we do this? I know you're on a little bit of a tight time schedule. Let's take a little break for some of the commercials, some of the sponsors we have, and then we can come back and start talking more about personal branding and what you're doing now and ZenPost. And, you know, because like I mentioned to you before, it's definitely it's a topic that's near and dear to me because I do it and I didn't recognize it at first. And I think it's things that people kind of overlook, they shy away from. So let's just jump on some commercials and we'll come back.
Sure.
Here's a word from our sponsors. Looking to market and grow your business? Or perhaps you're just getting started and want to hit the ground running? AWeber is the best choice for online email marketing and automation of your business. From maintaining a subscriber list to drip campaigns and landing pages, AWeber gives you tools and integrations that make marketing easy and fun. As our partner and sponsor, we use all their tools to promote the podcast and market our law firm. AWeber, the best alternative for online marketing. For over 30 years, the Alternative Board, or TAB, has built a thriving community of forward-thinking CEOs and business owners who want to radically improve their companies. Through unique combinations of one-on-one business coaching, participation in monthly TAB board meetings with other non-competing owners, a suite of strategic tools, and customized strategic planning workshops, TAB membership can deliver greater strength to your business and a better work-life balance for you and your family. All packaged in a streamlined and affordable service that the people at TAB invite you to try risk-free. Are you struggling with managing advertising due to a lack of time or expertise? Perhaps you're facing challenges in scaling ads for your store. Are you feeling lost when strategies have no success? GSM Growth Agency is your reliable partner in overcoming these business challenges. Feel the impact of collaborating with a team dedicated not only to short-term goals, but also to building long-term partnerships and achieving sustained success. Embark on an exciting journey to redefine the possibilities of e-commerce and create a legacy of unparalleled excellence. Take decisive action now. Follow their link in the show notes to receive a complimentary audit of your Shopify store conducted by a GSM expert. Propel your e-commerce game to new heights with GSM Growth Agency. Follow the link in the show notes to learn more about all of our sponsors. And now back to our show. All right, Dave. So we were starting to get into branding. Yeah, way back when I was just developing the podcast, and I have my law firm, obviously. The podcast was just kind of in the website for the law firm, and it was just something I was doing on the side, and it grew. And plus, I wrote some ebooks, and I did some kind of stuff. So I grabbed the name MitchBeinecker.com, and I started building like this parallel. And I do get different opinions about it. Should do, shouldn't do, whatever. But I think that, and you'll give me your opinion now, right? I think that overlooking the brand that you have personally as a small business owner in probably a community of people that know you more than your company. Law firm's a little different, right? Because my name has to be, well, they changed that rule, but originally it was my name had to be on the door. So, okay, it is personally branded, but there's other industries, other companies, they make up this great name. They think it's great, but nobody, now you have to create a new association and the association. So I think people overlook that, but I'll get your opinion on it.
Yeah, I mean, if the question is, do I focus on growing out the brand of my company, the logo, the business name, or
Right?
Yeah, me LLC, your personal name, domain, and business. I think it is a requirement for everyone to build out their personal brand, regardless of whether they're an owner of a separate company with their own separate name. People buy from people. So they want to understand, can I trust you? What is your personal background? Especially, there are different types of businesses. Some, as I mentioned, I was a part of one that's 103 employees. So people knowing me isn't necessarily going to sell more widgets at that business.
Right.
So at that point, the personal brand is more so for how you can monetize and grow your business, your career, your business opportunities, aside from the business that you're attached to. Because as we saw, it can go to 103, but back down to 3 very quickly. What other assets are you now left with? Oh, your me LLC, everything that you've been investing into.
Right.
So now when you go to get that next gig,
it goes with
and
you.
They look at, let's see what digital assets you have online. Oh, wow, he has a newsletter about marketing. He has a podcast, XYZ.
It creates authority. It creates confidence. I mean, in your case with the 103 person employee company, the branding of the owner was important, right? Because somebody gets involved with the company, they don't know who he is. They're not really connected with him. And if there's a brand out there, you kind of get a little bit of a stickiness. But it's a good point, right? So if you're with a corporation, you're with a company, small, big, or whatever, you should still consider the importance of your personal brand, because that will go with you, right? It's your own collateral.
And we've seen it time and time again where people are middle management somewhere, but invest into their personal brands, really showcase their thought leadership,
Yeah.
and then get like a VP position, a head of head of division somewhere else because of that, where it's like they want to hire you not just because, well, one, they've already seen what type of thought leadership knowledge you have about the industry, but also you're bringing that audience with them now.
Right. Yeah.
They're hiring you and your audience and eyeballs to them, so you become more of an asset beyond just the
Your resume.
the 9 to 5 that you're investing into. So and people think, oh, I'm a W-2 employee, like why do I need a personal brand? Like I don't have an offer, right? But like your time and your knowledge and your expertise is the offer that you're providing the employer. So if you can bundle that and showcase that, you're more willing to, or more likely to get better gigs and better paying opportunities, or just stay when it comes time for like hiring and firing, job security at your current position.
On to Dave. He's all over the place. He's got everybody knows him. He's going to scoop him up. I think it's true, right? If you've got 3 candidates in a room, on paper, they're looking at the 3, and one of them's out there doing things, posting stuff, building a personal brand, bringing an audience with them. The other 2 are just handing resumes in. Good luck. You're going to be able to compete with that guy.
And, like I said, there's times, whether it's finding the next W-2 opportunity or taking that leap into entrepreneurship, a lot of times when you're building your personal brand, new business opportunities come up.
Yes, they do.
You start growing an audience and they go, wow, I really love not just the information you're providing us, but the way you're providing it. I'm buying into you. If you were to ever sell a digital product, I'd be there first in line, right? So there's new business opportunities for you, new monetization opportunities outside of your W-2.
Yeah. Do you know how many guys I've interviewed that have gotten into consulting and coaching because they were putting out content about their, what they're learning and their success, and somebody said, "Hey, Dave, can you do that for me?" And he's like, well, what do you mean? And well, I want you to, all right. And then he starts talking to you and helping you, just friendship type of stuff. Next thing you know, you're like, you can charge for this. And then they build a coaching practice because they realize that people are following them and what they're putting out there.
And that's the best way to launch or find an offer, is to kind of stumble into it.
Yeah.
Right.
To have your built-in customers.
To have your audience kind of raise their hand and say, can I buy this from you? Instead of you working blindly in a silo and coming out with a product and saying, who wants this?
Right.
They say, like, there's a common phrase in product development, which is, building in public.
Right.
And that's the idea of like showing the scrappiness, showing the process of you kind of putting things together, because the audience is participating in that.
Right.
They feel attached to it. They're giving feedback to it.
Yeah.
So that's basically what you're doing, is just building. When you say build, in this case, it's just like expressing your knowledge, like testing, learning, being a scientist, being a journalist, publishing what you find, and then people go, that's interesting, I want more.
Right. No, there's no question that the biggest mistake, or one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of business owners make, is that they build it like the field of dreams. And they don't do the research and the market research and say, hey, anybody raising their hand for this? Like, most people think, they come up with these ideas, right? Product, service, whatever. They think it's the greatest thing in the world. They know for sure why everybody's going to need this, and it's going to do all these great things. And maybe it does. Maybe there's a need there. Maybe it does. But then they find out nobody cares. Like, it's not that important to them. They could use that to solve the problem, and it's crickets. And if they did the work up front, right, and found the people first and kind of let the people kind of guide them along the path to where they think they're going to go, maybe they won't end up there, they wouldn't have these failures. They would have these discoveries, I call them, where you can, and the best business owners I know are always asking their customers, right, always testing their markets, always testing their marketing, because they know not only will they be wrong, right, but it changes all the time. So you got to be ahead of the curve if you want to be continually, successful.
So with my software development background at brand.com, I went on to build some of my own products. And then eventually I became known as the software guy, because people within the businesses that I were associated with always knew that I knew how to build a product. So I would start
But
having,
you're
I
not a
describe,
programmer by training, right?
no, I'm the like architect. I'm the
Right. You can
translator
sketch it out
between,
and draw it and say, hey, listen, guys,
yeah,
this is what I need. And then they can program it.
I know how to speak developer,
Right. That's a
right?
skill.
So
There's no question about
yeah,
it. You can't communicate to the developers. They're not going to produce what you're looking for.
yeah. And that was the number one thing I saw with those that I would advise would be, it'd be some entrepreneur with a crazy vision in mind, or not crazy, but just a vision, but they didn't know how to translate that into how the developers understood how to build it,
Right.
because there's always a miscommunication between the language the average person is using and what the developers are used to understanding of, okay, here's how I know what needs to
Different
happen.
language.
So
Sure. Absolutely.
so I used to advise people on building apps and software products and such, and people would always come to me and be like, you have to sign an NDA, like I'm worried that you're going to steal my idea. And I'm just like, first of all, you need to talk to people about your idea in order to understand if it's a good idea. If
Right.
it's just you working in a silo, you're going to build it and then raise your hand and say, who wants it? And realize no one does. Or you're building a version of it that people kind of want, but if you had only built it in this way, you would understand that people actually wanted it like this. And
Right.
you don't know that unless you talk to people.
Right.
But two, no one has the time, money, energy to just take an idea out of thin air and go run and start a business. Like starting a business is freaking hard. It's a lot of
Yes.
money. It's time,
Right.
investment. Like no one's just willy-nilly taking an idea from a conversation
Correct.
and going and trying to build $1 billion,
Yeah.
whatever. So
It's
that's
like
my
these
pet
guys
peeve.
that put information out there, like, and attorneys do this all the time. What are you putting all this blog information out? You're teaching people how to do things. They're not going to use you anymore. I said, listen, the people that use me may appreciate the blog articles. They're not doing it on their own.
Yeah.
And the people that are going to do it on their own, they're not going to call me anyway.
Right.
So it doesn't matter. And you gotta, yeah, it's a good point. That's definitely a good point.
Yeah. I don't think I've gotten inspired of like how to tweak an existing offer
Right.
that I have based on what I've seen other people do, but I've never started a new company based on a conversation with someone that they were like, oh, I have this great idea. Oh, okay, I'm going to stop everything I'm doing and go invest my life savings into your idea.
Right.
And I also say that great companies are created by great founders. So it's not the idea, it's the founder who can execute against it. So even if someone was to steal your idea and build a better wheel than you did, it's because that founder should have started that company. They had the expertise, the vision better than you did.
Right. And if
So
the guy
anyway.
really wants to steal your idea, he can do it. It doesn't really matter. It's not the person that you share the idea with and they go, ooh, I think I'll change my whole life and do that. It's the guy who's going to steal it anyway.
And, you know, we've seen time and time again, it's not always first to market. You know, competitors come in and start, you know, sweeping the competition, or Google or Apple or something, just take it after the fact anyway, like they always do. But so yeah, it's frustrating to hear that kind of stuff. But also, they would build in a silo and not present it to their market and then come out. I've done this before, so obviously, you know, we've all been victims of it ourselves. But come out and present it to the market and realize no one wants it. But that's what I think is the idea of like personal branding, to kind of bring it back. It's just the idea of you're working in public, you're experimenting in public, you're being a journalist in public, to the point where people go, this person is devoted to this topic. And the key word here is consistency. So like consistently showing up and communicating and speaking with your audience. And that builds trust over time, where people go, this person's clearly passionate. This is their vocation. You know, they're working on the weekends around this thing. And if I'm going to invest my money to get a solution within this niche, I'm going to put it towards the person that I see is like showing, like Kobe Bryant in the gym on like,
working
on
hard
on Sunday, right? Like I'm going to invest in that person.
Yeah. So this may be a loaded question, and maybe you kind of roundabout answered it, but beyond, you know, not building your personal brand at all, what are some of the mistakes that you see people, you know, make when they attempt it on their own, or they're out there trying to make it happen, beyond like not really building it up?
Yeah. I think the big thing is inconsistency. They publish like once
Right. Not
a
enough
week or
regularly.
every other week, right? They're kind of dipping their toe in, and they're calling that, um, a
Right.
content strategy.
So you need to be
Uh,
committed to regular content.
yeah, I mean, that's again, when you publish something, maybe 20%, if that's being,
Probably that's high, right?
right, yeah, 20% of your audience is maybe seeing the post,
Yeah.
right? And you're publishing it once a week. You need to be consistent with that content so that even if they didn't see yesterday's post, they might see this one. You need to be consistently showing up and engaging with other content and other accounts and things. So you really need to be like a politician, right? Like this is very timely, to win that political position. You need to be out there shaking hands, kissing babies, posting what you believe in, having your advertisements, if you will, show up consistently, be top of mind,
Right.
so that when people do go to the metaphorical polls, they're choosing you over the other candidates. So yeah, you have to kind of really think of it as like a political campaign, and show up everywhere.
Right.
So that's one thing. And then also just not understand, this is also kind of goes back to like the political concept is, if you're going to voice your message, you need to make sure you have your message solidified and you know what you're saying and who you're
Right.
saying it to.
And
So many
right,
people
that's right.
jump to the content creation part, but they don't actually start with like brand identity, positioning, messaging. Who am I? Where am I? What's my position in the market? How do I stand out? And what do I have to say that's unique and interesting and said? And what are my stories that I can tell?
Right.
People don't take the time to understand that. So when it comes time for their content, it's weak content that doesn't say anything special. It doesn't
Right.
attract
Doesn't
anyone.
resonate.
It's not converting into any sales.
Yeah. I think a lot of people also have to think about what their goal is with their content. Let's take attorneys, for example, right? I mean, obviously, I do business with all kinds of business people. There's some people I choose not to do business with, but they all have different political beliefs. They all have different religious beliefs. They all have different personal beliefs. I don't really want to offend one or the other, so I don't get involved in that. I have colleagues of mine, even with my old firm, where they would get involved like in Twitter wars with people or Facebook posting. I'm like, take that stuff down. Like, what are you doing? You want to be the person who's adversarial with other people, and everybody sees what you're doing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Sometimes that's your shtick, though. Like sometimes you
it's
are kind
good,
of the
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
But it depends what industry you're in. You don't always want to be
yeah. Well,
the
it begs the question: is all publicity good publicity? Right? Is all promotion good promotion? And I would say I would say maybe. Like sometimes that's a yes, and sometimes clearly it's a no.
yeah. I think there's a difference between, there's different types of personal brands. There's like influencers who, if your name's attached to something, no matter what it is, people are interested in it. And what you advise, what you put your name behind in terms of I support this product, that's the influencer market. Then there is more so like business personal branding, which is I have an offer. I want to prove to you that I am the leader in this industry, this niche,
Right.
so that you believe in not just me, but the offer I have behind me. And that's all you should care about. And so I think, when you think of Elon Musk, I'm not necessarily thinking like if he goes and starts some political rant on X, Twitter, whatever, I'm still going to buy a Tesla, right? Like that doesn't affect me wanting to buy a Tesla.
Right.
But if it's, John or Jane who has some sort of like branding offer, and then they go and start some like political rant that does not align with mine, and they start going off on a tangent and all that kind of stuff, I'm going to question their validity behind their offer a little bit more. So it's how close to you are you with the end product, and are you going off on a rant and being a little bit more
offensive?
Yeah, offensive
abrasive
within your niche, where maybe now that might attract other people who will agree with you, but it might repel a lot of people who don't.
Right. And with the Musk example, when you're buying a Tesla, you're not dealing with him. So if you're dealing with a small business owner, a local person, you're going to probably be interacting with them. And if their beliefs don't align with you, or you don't like the fact that they posted whatever they posted online and, showed up and went nuts at the school board or whatever they were on line for, you may not feel comfortable being associated with that person and
Right.
doing business with them.
Yeah, I say, with coaches, consultants, and realtors, anyone that you're going to be actively engaging with, whether virtual or in person, on a consistent basis, you want to like them. You want to feel like you have some sort of connection beyond business. And so being a little bit like political and voicing your strong opinions may attract those that do believe in that, and that maybe earn you clients for that reason. But it also has the strong possibility that people who don't align with those
You can alienate them.
values and such will go, you know what, maybe you're not the realtor for me. Maybe you're not the personal fitness trainer for me. I'd rather work with someone else.
There's other choices. Sure.
Yeah.
So your company right now is ZenPost, is that right?
Yep.
And maybe you want to tell us about what that's doing and how you're building it, and maybe, what kind of customer or client do you work with right now?
Yeah. So ZenPost, ZenPost.com. And we chose the name ZenPost for a reason because, like I said, showing up consistently online with content that's going to be on message, be on brand, and attract, convince, and convert your ideal client is difficult and can be very stressful if you don't have the right tools, templates, and tactics in place. And so that's what ZenPost is. It's me and my business partner, Dustin. I'm more on the content creation side, the systems and tools side. My business partner, Dustin, is more on the branding and messaging and brand positioning side of things. And so we're kind of a package deal. And so who we work with is usually coaches, consultants, thought leaders in your space, C-suite, fractionals.
Oh, working with C-suite guys? Okay.
Yeah. So anyone who really, there's two sides to it. Anyone who needs to sell themselves in order to sell an offer behind them, or anyone who just wants to continue to build their legacy, their name in their industry and go on to be an author, to be a public speaker, to start their own podcast, like really just kind of build out the knowledge that they've built. And maybe they don't necessarily monetize it through an offer, but monetize it just by brand recognition.
Right.
And so
if you hear that in the background, the side.
Oh, I can't hear it. You're fine.
Can't hear that? Okay, good.
I've had construction going on in like the apartment above me when I've done podcasts before. Yeah. You never know. So I apologize. I'm fighting a cold this week, so I probably sound a little nasally.
Yeah. No, it's fine.
But in any case, so yeah, it's those who come to us. Again, first thing we do is that brand identity package. Who are you within the industry? Who are you at your essence and your core? We want to make sure we're reflecting that into your content. What's the messaging we're going to use that's going to attract, convince, and convert your ideal client? And then we have done for you services where every month we're helping you bundle together some content, video content, quote cards, just things that are going to origin stories of your success that we're going to help you publish to, again, attract that audience. Typically that's through LinkedIn, but we do all
business
channels.
Owners, right? Of course.
Yeah.
So how can people listening connect with you, learn about personal branding from you, test the waters a little bit? They might be your ideal client. They may not be. I don't know, but
yeah. I say the best way is to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm building out my personal brand mainly through LinkedIn right now. So kind of the proof is in the pudding. If you want to see what we can do for you, follow my personal brand. So connect with me, Dave Polykoff, Polykoff on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
When you do request me, make sure that you mention you found me from this podcast so that I know you're coming from here and you're an avid listener. And then, I'm happy to kind of walk you through some tools and tips for growing your personal brand. What we do is, if you are a business professional, kind of way to demo our product is I have my own podcast called Personal Brand Blueprint, and I bring on business professionals.
Great.
I interview them in a bit more of a Q&A style.
Mm-hmm.
And then I take that content and I translate that into social content for you so that you can see kind of what we do for you on a monthly basis.
Got it. Okay. Well, I thank you for coming on. I think we had a little bit of technical issues, but the system should fix them. And let's definitely stay in touch. I think personal branding is so important. I think people, when I go on LinkedIn and I look somebody up and they don't have even a photo, it really kind of reduces your confidence in this person and them putting themselves out there and what they're about. So, I mean, I say if you're doing personal branding, that's the first thing that should be like in good shape,
No, absolutely. Sorry, I'm trying to fix the technical issue as we
No problem. It might be
continue.
on my end too. I don't know who even.
Oh,
Yep, there you're back.
Hey,
There you
we're
go.
back on that. I think I got a few more minutes in me before my laptop probably breaks again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, investing into your personal brand, I think is kind of as I say, the greatest investment that you can make in your life. Being that, you can invest into stocks and you really don't have any control over whether that company does well or not. But if you're
Right.
investing into yourself, your Me LLC stock, that's a investment that's going to compound over
Good
time.
advice.
So
Good
yeah,
advice. We'll put all those links you mentioned in the show notes. And yeah, definitely. Let's stay in touch and see how we can keep helping people.
absolutely.
All right. Thanks, Dave. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Accidental Entrepreneur. Opening and closing music written and performed by Howie Moskovich and made to order music. For information about Howie and his music services, please follow the link in our show notes. If you like the podcast, please tell others about us. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, on Amazon Music, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and most of the other podcast directories. If you like what you hear, please leave us a 5-star review and feel free to share our episodes on social media. If you have any questions or comments, ideas for the show, or you'd even like to appear as a guest, reach out to us by email at info@beinhackerlaw.com.
The Accidental Entrepreneur is hosted by Mitch Beinhacker and produced by Beinhacker Law. If you'd like to learn more about our business and legal services, you can find us on social media or visit our website at beinhackerlaw.com. Thanks for listening, and be sure to subscribe to our feed to be notified of all future episodes.